Right, we are recording now. So, welcome to a Complete Cloud webinar. I'm Justin Humphrey. I'm part of the RazorCity IT team. We also have Keith online. Other Keith and Craig, they're part of Avatar. What we did was we partnered up with Avatar to come up with this new program, this new platform of Complete Cloud to help out. Um, Sorry, somebody's joining here. Help out businesses and companies. So Craig is going to take the floor and he's going to start talking about Complete Cloud. And later I'll stop the recording and then we can ask questions. And like I said, we are recording it. So this will go on social media later. Feel free to go to our website, razorcityit.com, or just email me personally. I'm sure you all have gotten a lot from me and we can talk more about it later that way as well. All right. So Craig, you can go ahead and take the floor.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin. Um, well, everybody join in. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your morning to hear a little bit about our partnership with Razor City and the Complete Cloud platform. For those that just were kind of joining last minute, just a bit of housekeeping. We have muted the lines to keep them clean. And if you have questions throughout, by all means, use the chat tool or what's called conversations. And whether it's in the middle of the presentation, we might get to it, or we'll save some time at the end for questions as well. But we want to make this as informative for you as we can. Now, I think it's really important before we get into this concept of cloud computing and our platform called Complete Cloud, and we talk about this idea of rethinking IT. I think it's helpful to have 2 seconds to understand who we are and who Razor City is as well. So Avatar, we're based up in St. Louis. We have a really unique platform that is a private data center environment, and we're going to talk through that. And Razor City is our exclusive partner that we work with down in the Arkansas area. And the thing is we have this really unique relationship. You will hear that you get kind of best of both worlds in this relationship. You have the Razor City folks there in your neck of the woods, and then you have our team providing expertise on the back end. And so what we have found over the years, and probably more so than ever during this whole COVID pandemic, is that business owners care about two specific things. They care about the security of their data. Now, that could be because you're in a high compliance industry. I know there's some folks on the line that are in the banking industry or the aerospace industry where there is actual compliance requirements that force them to care about security, whether they like it or not. There's others on the line that they care about security because they just want to protect their data from the bad actors that are out there. And so we know that that is of utmost importance in this day and age. The second piece is productivity, and I would say during the last handful of months, this has not rang true more than ever before. Whether you're a civil engineering firm or you're a law firm or you're any organization out there, you're trying to figure out, how do I make my employees more productive? And I have lots of conversations with folks all the time right now about, hey, are you able to work remotely or able to work from home? And obviously in this season, a lot of people are saying, yeah, absolutely, we're able to do that. And I'll usually follow that conversation up with, all right, well, are you doing it as securely and or as productive as in the office? And usually that conversation changes pretty quickly. Well, it's close to being as productive, or no, not at all. It's actually very difficult through our clunky VPN connections or this, that, and the other. And then security, well, we're not really sure. And so what we have done is said, all right, why don't we rethink the way IT is purchased, bought, managed, and let's build an entire platform from a data center infrastructure down to the desktop. Let's provide a really robust support model, and let's do it in a completely different pricing model. And so everything we're going to talk about in this Complete Cloud platform is to make your employees work in a more secure manner, more productive, in a simplified pricing model where you don't get nickel and dime to death like pretty much every other platform that's out there, whether you're dealing with an on-premise model, whether you're in a kind of a normal managed services model, or especially if you're going to any kind of cloud solution, they want to nickel and dime you to death for everything, whether it's storage space or servers or this, that, and the other. And that's just not how we operate. So the way that we tell this story, and we're going to talk about what does an organization, whether you're a 500 user organization or whether you're a 20 user company, what do you need to run your organization from an IT perspective? And we said, hey, why don't we include all that and take care of it? And so as we get into the Complete Cloud, we tell the story by breaking everything down into 4 major buckets that you need to run your organization. So with that, the first thing that we're going to talk about is infrastructure. So whether you come to this conversation and your current environment is sitting in a traditional on-premise environment with on-premise servers and whatnot, or you've moved fully to the cloud, or maybe you've done some kind of hybrid, there's lots of pieces to that equation that you've got to figure out. Well, in our world, we make it really simple for our clients and we take care of it. So this is going to be the most technical slide that we'll talk about today, and everything else will be pretty high level. But what we do for all of our customers is we build out a private data center environment. And that is really important, especially from a security standpoint, but also from a compliance standard. So whether you're a bank that has to meet FDIC regulations, or you're an aerospace that has to be CMMC level 3 or DFARS compliant, or maybe you're just a civil engineering firm that you just want your environment to be in a good place, we built out this private data center environment that has all of the basic building blocks that your probably environment has today. So we centralized it all in our redundant data centers. So we built out what's called a business server, basically serves as the brains of the server farm. We built out a dedicated exchange. We do that because we want to have control of your email, your exchange. So most of our clients, 98% of them, have this dedicated exchange that has our own self-hosted spam filter, other layers of security, and better support than moving things out to kind of public cloud email platforms like Office 365 or whatnot. We have lots of customers who can't use those types of tools because of their high security needs. We then build out your file server, and we build it out to spec with unlimited server and unlimited storage space. So yes, you did hear me say that correctly. That is unlimited storage space. I just got off the phone earlier this morning with one of our civil engineering firms that has about 30 terabytes of data. They pay the same thing that our 500-user healthcare firm with a terabyte of data pays for as well. So I always have my one caveat: as long as you're not putting a bunch of cat videos on this system, we're good to go. We then layer in some other security components, which I'll table for now, but that's host-based intrusion and DNS web filtering. And then we build out whatever application servers you may need. Now, that could be something as simple as, hey, you need one application server for QuickBooks, or maybe you're a civil engineering firm and you're hosting your own Dell Tech Vision, or maybe you're in the medical space and it's GE Centricity that requires 15 servers just to run your EMR. Whatever the case might be, whether you need 1, 2, 10, 5, doesn't matter. We're going to provide however many application servers, provide all the SQL licensing, and do it in a whole lot more cost-effective way for you. And now as a business, you can make good business decisions about how am I running my operations. Because I talk to so many businesses today, and they're like, man, I need to upgrade our ERP system, or I would like to move to this ERP system, but I don't want to have to deal with buying the hardware and the SQL licensing. Well, we take that all off the table and allow you to make good business decisions. And then we not only move the servers into this private data center environment, but we move your desktops as well. And we build out something that is called virtual computers or hosted desktops. There's hundreds of different names for virtual computers. The thing that's different from us and literally everybody else in the country for the most part is we do not utilize terminal servers or a shared resourcing pool when building out a virtual machine. We want these virtual computers to look, feel, and act like the one under your desk. So just imagine taking your PC that's under your desk that your knees always hit when you turn your chair, or the laptop that's on your desk, go take it and put it into a bank vault, i.e. a data center, and then connect a really, really, really long cable back to the monitor on your desk. In a very untechnical and unglorified way, that is what we are ultimately doing. So these are full-blown Windows 10 computers that look, feel, and act like the computer under your desk that has all of your unique software sets, which is a game changer from a security standpoint and especially mobility, as we'll talk about here later. Now, for those that are on the phone that are in the CAD enablement space, whether you're a manufacturing firm utilizing things like SolidWorks or CATIA or Unigraphics, or maybe you're in the civil engineering space using things like Civil 3D or Bentley or ArcGIS, we have a completely different back-end computer. And I won't get into all of the interesting weeds, but it's a little bit of our secret sauce of building out a platform that has no virtualization, that can handle high-end 3D rendering. So Think of it as the equivalent of about a $3,500 CAD system that's sitting in this data center environment, utilizing an Auto CAD or SolidWorks certified graphics card with some souped up RAM and memory. And it's a game changer. Our engineering and manufacturing firms, it's the #1 vertical that we play in because of this unique back-end system. So if that's you, love to have a lot longer conversation with you about this and how we can enable you to be able to truly have CAD in the cloud in a really powerful way. Now, all of this infrastructure I just talked about sits in our 2 SSA18 audited data center. That's just fancy jargon for the highest auditing a data center can have. And that picture there at the top is actually a picture of one of our data centers. It's not just random click art that I found on the web that I thought would look pretty on a presentation. So what you get here is complete redundancy. So there's 2 different power grids powering this, running off of backup battery systems, running off of backup generators. All of our gear has A and B power as well as A and B internet for full redundancy and failover. And then you have what you would expect from security: armed guard, biometric access, video surveillance, all the things that you don't get with a random server closet in your office, right? One of the questions during our assessments that I always ask is, hey, is your server room locked? And about 50% of the time, it's not. So just from a physical security standpoint, you're getting a huge added bonus here. Now, there's a lot of myths around cloud computing. I think it's worth noting right here. A lot of times I'll talk to people and they'll say, well, cloud computing is not as safe as my on-premise where I can see the blinking lights. I could very easily argue with you very quickly about how that's a very false statement. Now, if you're putting your data out in Dropbox or in a public cloud environment, yeah, I could make that argument. It's probably not that safe and secure of a location. But when you're putting it into a private data center environment like this, where you could come here to St. Louis and physically go to the servers and go, that's where my data is, well, now we're talking about a whole different model than the server that's sitting on site where your janitor could come in, put a USB key in, and take all of your data. Okay. And then the last piece of this kind of data center infrastructure is from a backup standpoint. A lot of folks, you've got to go then piecemeal your backup solution together, whether you're using Veeam or Datto, or maybe you're using still tapes, or putting it on an external hard drive and taking it actually to your bank and putting it into a safety deposit box. Very time consuming, very costly, a little bit of a pain. Well, in our model, all of your backup from the servers, the desktops, the email are all backed up at 2 different data centers. We have multiple versions of that. I'm not going to get into all of the weeds there, but all of your data is backed up in redundant places, multiple days of versions. So if somebody, deletes a file, or my favorite one when they call in support and say the cloud ate my file, which is typically code for I deleted the file, please don't tell my boss, but can you get it back for me? Well, we're going to take care of you and make sure that all of your data is backed up appropriately and archived appropriately. So then we're going to start to move away from the data center down to your physical site. Again, all wrapped up into this per user per month pricing model is we're going to take care of your internet connectivity. Now, there's devils in the details here, but long story short, for our clients, we're going to help make sure they got the right internet connection in place. We're going to help manage that internet connection. If you ever had to call a local IT or internet provider, it's a nightmare. You call Comcast or Charter or whoever, and it's an absolute headache. Well, we're going to take care of that on your behalf. And we're going to pick up some, if not all of that internet cost in our pricing model as well. So very unique. We want to help manage that internet connection for you. And then we make ourselves all the way to your physical location. Whether you got one company or you've got 15 sites, at each of those sites, we're going to put in all of our what's called LAN equipment, your firewall, your switch, your Wi-Fi access points. We're going to take care of all that and provide that in this per user per month pricing model. And then for your individual employee, we can either reuse your existing computers or laptops. It's a little bit of a cost savings there. Or what typically happens in the short term or long term is we provide our high-end Windows 10 thin clients that get mounted to the back of a 24-inch monitor. It's the thin client's the little box that gets strapped on like a backpack. We also have a laptop option as well. But our goal for all of our clients in the near short term, or obviously in the long term, is you just get out of the hardware game. You stop buying servers, you stop buying LAN equipment, you stop buying desktops, and now you really have a solution that allows you to have a true bring your own device environment. We'll get into some of the mobility of it here in a little bit, but it frees you from all that capital burden and dealing with the constant refresh cycles and just the headache that brings with it. Okay. So that's bucket one. The infrastructure is part of this complete cloud platform. The second piece is security. And as you probably have seen throughout this presentation already, we put some notes about the security. But to take a deeper dive into managed security, our platform is built off of what's called the NIST 800-171 framework. Okay, this is kind of the gold standards for security. And whether you are a banking industry, your FDIC compliance references the NIST 800. Whether you're in the healthcare arena and you've got to be HIPAA compliant, it references the NIST standards. Our aerospace guys, obviously the DFARS is completely built off the NIST 800-171, and there's about 110 controls or cybersecurity policies, if you will, that have to be put in place to meet this standard. We actually meet something else that's a little bit higher than this for some of our high-end DoD subcontractor types folks as well. But we start out with this kind of private data center platform, if you will, this private cloud security. Gets you in a really secure place, better than the traditional methodologies, so much so that it creates what's called a low surface area of attack. Our clients are basically invisible to the internet world. There's no public IP addresses. There's a whole lot of other interesting things that go along with it. But we take care of the basic building blocks, the basic hygiene, if you will, from a cybersecurity. Self-hosted spam filter, intrusion detection, having good security group policies like actually having a password policy. It's amazing to me how many very sophisticated and not so sophisticated organizations don't even have basic password policies in place. So we take care of those basics. Okay? From there, we layer in things to protect either your employees from doing intentional or unintentional harmful things to your network, or the various bad guys that are out there. During this call, if this call were to go an hour long, there would be about 362 ransomware attacks during this call. In 2016, it was about 4,000 ransomware attacks a day. It is in the hundreds, thousands plus a day now. The bad guys are just getting so sophisticated, and it's becoming a major issue. So we utilize DNS and content filtering. It's looking for those known bad guys that are out there, the ransomware, the malware attacks, the email that slips through that your employee clicks on that tries to take them to a bad website. Or during COVID, a lot of the heat maps out on people's blogs, for instance, have been infected. And maybe your employee is not paying attention and they go click on one of those heat maps, and it could potentially infect your system. So we set that up with DNS and content filtering. The next piece, which is very difficult for most organizations, is to have host-based intrusion detection with advanced threat analysis. And we do that by putting a piece of software on all of your servers and all of your virtual machines. And we're looking for the unknown threats. And we have a 24/7 security operation team that is in real time looking at every single packet, literally down to binary code of what's going on. So let me put this in layman's terms. The way that you as an employee interact with your server is going to be very consistent, even down to the hour of the day that you're working on your computer. Well, a lot of the new viruses that are out there, like the Ryuk virus, it's a staged attack. And so what happens is it gets into your computer, usually through social engineering, getting somebody's username and password, and then it sits there for a few days, dormant, not doing anything. And then all of a sudden, at 3 in the morning, all kinds of activity starts to happen on your computer, and it starts to stage this exploit. Well, we have tools that are going to catch that before it ever begins to activate or go down the process of putting its staged exploit. Okay, because again, it could be just a weird Microsoft update that's happening in the middle of the night, which happens all the time, or there could be something going on, and most organizations don't have the type of infrastructure and security to look for these types of threats that are out there. Okay. The next one, which is really important, is multi-factor, two-factor authentication. It's amazing to me how much we are all very concerned about making sure that we use multi-factor when we're on our iPhones or with our bank accounts, but shockingly, how few of organizations protect their company's data with multi-factor. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me, and this is where all of the threats are happening. They're trying to get your username and password so they can get into your system, and the only way to really protect that is to utilize multi-factor. And ours is done really simple. It can be either through a cell phone call that you listen to for 2 seconds. It can be through a 6-digit code, or the way I use it is push notifications all the way to my Apple Watch. It's really simple, really fluid, and then it authenticates who I am, who I say I am. Now, the last kind of core software piece around security is email encryption. For those that didn't know, email, by design, the contents are not encrypted. Okay, so when you send that email to your accountant with your social security number on there, it is going through the open airwaves, and somebody could hijack said email and expose that to whoever they wanted to. So we have a tool natively built in to encrypt email based on policy. So whether you're in the healthcare arena, and we have a dictionary, if you will. It's a contact control list that says, all right, here are all the typical terms that need to be protected from a PHI standpoint, right? Social security, account numbers, birth dates, blah, blah, blah. Well, if any of that data gets put into an email in our system, it automatically encrypts the email, or you can also use it from a data leak standpoint if you're really worried about your secret code. If any of that code ever got exposed in an email, it could redact that. You could actually even have it send an email to the boss that says, hey, Bob was trying to send something he shouldn't have sent, and you could then handle it. The next last piece of security then is training your employees, creating a human firewall, if you will. At the end of the day, you are only as secure as your weakest link, right? And your employees are not going to get educated on cybersecurity outside of the office other than the random TV show that they watch that tells about how ransomware infects things in all of the wrong ways, okay? And so we do this with simulated phishing emails that heighten your employees' awareness. And we also do quarterly little videos that are done really well that your employees take a little quiz and you get reporting back. And so you can really feel good about that your employees are continuing to grow their awareness. Okay. So again, there's a whole lot that can be talked about in security, depending on the type of industry that you're going in or working in, that are always interesting. But bucket 3 is then productivity. Again, I said security and productivity are kind of our guiding principles. So we got to build a platform that addresses just that. So for a lot of folks today, when they go to work from home, let's say, or they're working out on the field, what typically happens in most scenarios is they're using some kind of, maybe it's a VPN connection, or maybe they're using a log me into my PC, and it can just be slow and clunky, or maybe it limits their access to their network. It's not very fluid, right? Now, that may not be the case for all of you, but my gut says it probably is. So in our world, when somebody is either in the office or when they're at home on their iPad or their personal laptop or whatever, we have this little login manager. It's called Avatara Connect, and it does a couple things that are very interesting. The first is it makes it just really simple to log in. Okay, so your employee sits down at their desk, and in a normal environment, they sit down at their desk in the morning, they log in, they have to open all of the windows that they had open the day before because they had to log out, get their email up and running, they find that document they were working on, and 15, 30 minutes, an hour later, they actually start their job. Well, in our world, sit down, you log in, and your computer never turned off. The email that you were in the middle of drafting the night before is right there with your cursor right in the middle of it, and you're ready to rock and roll. And that's the same if I switched over right now to my iPad or my iPhone. My computer would just follow me, if you will. And it changes the way your employees, from a productivity standpoint and just a fluidity, now you don't have to worry about data or content being on those local devices, and it allows them to be able to use whatever device they want in a really systematic way, and all the computing power is happening at the data center level, not at that local device. So there's no data moving back and forth. The other big piece of this is we have our AI. Our AI's name's Ava, and Ava is built into this whole platform. And Ava is looking for issues. We joke, whether you're on your iPhone or you're on your personal corporate computer, it's technology. At some point, you want to throw it through the window, right? Well, we want to try to make the user's experience as least a happiest one as possible, right? And so Ava is looking at things like, hey, Craig, I noticed that you're not working from the office. And I'll get a text message every once in a while from Ava that says, hey, I noticed you're not in the office and your internet's not looking so great. Would you like me to take a look at it, and or would you like to talk to support? Right? From a text message, I can begin to interact with our support team. Or from those that are executives on the phone, wouldn't it be nice that as your employees are working from home, for you to know, are they really being productive? Are they really doing their job? Well, Ava's looking at when somebody logs in and is there activity going on the computer. So we give reports to our executive folks that say, hey, Bob has been logged in for 8 hours, but he's had an hour of activity on his computer. and then you can do what you will from an HR standpoint with that interesting data point. So our AI is constantly doing all kinds of interesting things, both educating your employees on things, proactively looking to solve things, and report back interesting data points to your team. The other piece of productivity is just the collaborative, and there's all kinds of tools that are out there, but what I find is a lot of companies have just started to piecemeal solutions together to kind of band-aid problems they're having. Hey, we need to be able to share files to our customers. Well, let's just use Google Drive or Dropbox or ShareFile or this, that, and the other. And it's a little bit convoluted, and you're putting data out in the public cloud arena. Or, hey, we want to be able to internally chat with each other. So we use Slack or Teams or this, that, and the other. Well, that data's out there in the public cloud arena, and we don't really have good control over it. Well, what we've said is, why don't we add some productivity pieces that natively tie into this private data center environment so that you can feel comfortable sending CUI or PHI data within these internal collaborative tools, because none of that data is going out into the public cloud arena. So we have our own secure file sharing that's natively built into your file server. Think of it like a secure Dropbox. We have a really robust email and search archive that makes your email that you probably treat like a file server actually be functional, because if you ever try to search for an email, whether it's an Office 365 or a normal on-premise, it's next to impossible after 2 weeks of data. Well, in our world, we got some tools that make that really simple, really fluid. And then lastly, we have our own internal chat and video tool. Again, we're not trying to replace Teams. If you love Teams, have at it. But I know a lot of people have a love-hate relationship, even though we're using Teams. So I'm just picking on Teams because we're using it, right? So there's all kinds of different tools, right? Oh, we're going to go try out Slack. Okay, maybe half of your company loves it. Well, then let that half of them use it. Again, we just want to be able to build these tools, especially if you are in high compliance industries. You need to have some tools that allow you to keep it all in a nice, secure, and safe manner. Okay. The last piece then is support. You know, what good is having a system if it's not all being managed by the same team? And that gets people in trouble, right? Whether you're having an internal IT person or a team of people, or maybe you're using a third party for this solution but not this solution, and then there's a lot of finger pointing. Well, what we've said is, why don't we just take care of it all? So we have our 24/7 US-based support team here in St. Louis, and our goal is to solve problems. And you get best of both worlds. You get our team, and you get Justin and Keith's team there in Arkansas. And so what I mean by that is any employee can pick up the phone. They can either call us, they can text us, literally with SMS text message, or they can use that Avatar Connect and immediately chat. And all three of those methods come right to our team here in St. Louis. Real humans are going to start solving their problems. Our goal is that 90% of all calls that come in get answered in less than 5 minutes. Last month it was about 47 seconds. We watch that really closely. We want, again, that experience for your employees to be a good one. And so they're going to start solving anything and everything. It could be, hey, I'm getting the spinning wheel of death in Excel. Just because you move to the cloud does not make Excel behave any better. It's still going to blow up when you run 20,000 lines of queries, right? Or it could be, hey, I'm working from home today on a new computer. Can you help me get remote access? Or whatever the case might be. Now, if it's something around your ERP system, well, that's going to immediately get escalated to our Tier 2 and Tier 3 team, who specialize in those types of unique software sets, okay? And then, as I mentioned, this all gets bookended by Justin and Keith and their team providing account management, virtual CIO, and local presence there on site as needed. And again, it's relatively minimal in our world, but we think it's really important to have that local touch as well. The last thing I'll say about support is we are highly instrumented, and we think transparency is of utmost importance. So we have a customer portal that our clients have access to, and we think, all right, well, if we have all of these 20-some different systems aggregating into one place that allow us to be both proactive and reactive, why would we not expose that to our clients? And so we give you access to this portal, and you can see every call that comes in, every single case, how it was handled. You can get in and geek out on system performance if you wanted to. There's all kinds of interesting things like that productivity report that we're constantly pushing out to this for our clients. Okay, and you can only really do that when you have this fully integrated and aggregated system setting this up. Okay, so we've really thought through it, and we said, all right, what does a company need to run their organization? We said, all right, you need infrastructure, you need security, you need productivity, you need support, and you need a system that's built in a private data center environment on a simplified per user, per month pricing that just takes the complexity and lets you rethink the way in which you're building and managing and dealing with what at times can be very cumbersome, and you don't know what you're spending because every time something breaks, the answer typically is go buy this or add this to it. And we just said, hey, why don't we just change the model? And so because of that, at the end of the day, that's why Justin and Keith they've partnered with us. They've become, for those that didn't hear at the beginning, they become our exclusive partner that we work with in the Arkansas area. We don't work with anybody else because we think that kind of partnership is really unique in the IT space, and they believe that this is the right solution for the various customers in your guys' market. Okay. So hopefully this gives you a big picture of what this CompleteCloud platform is that Justin and Keith have available to be able to leverage for their clients and for new customers. But at that point, that's all I've got. I would love if there's anybody that has any questions, by all means, throw those questions into the chat and we can speak specifically to them. But for now, that's what I've got on our side.
Awesome, Keith. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and we'll check on those questions here. And again, for those that are watching, whether it be social media or just from our newsletter, if you got questions and you need somebody to talk to, you can easily contact us, or like I said, go to RazorCity IT and click on the link there, and we'll sit down and talk about more. All right, guys, so turn it off. See y'all later.